Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Chad. I'm the Associate Dean for e-learning here at CCC, and today we're going to have a short webinar about engaging students online. So wanted to give some late attendees a chance to get here, and we will have time for some discussion and question and answer at the end of the presentation. So without further ado, I want to get going. All right. So engaging students online, engaging students for deep and meaningful learning in the virtual environment certainly is a topic that is at the forefront in this pandemic. And our objectives for today are to talk about and to discuss challenges and opportunities, the Community of Inquiry Framework, or COI, specific engagement strategies, and then we'll end with some time for discussion and questions. So getting into today's environment, let's talk about the present environment. In the fall of 2019, pre-pandemic, there were 21 million college students, and distance education enrollments have continued to increase since then, and especially with the pandemic. And now almost all of these students are online, along with 56.4 million K-12 students, and 3.7 million of those will be graduating from high school during the 2020 to 2021 school year. So they are our future students. Almost 7 million students, it's like 6.9 million, took at least one virtual course in 2018. It's an increase of 5.6% over the previous year. So it is a medium that is growing, and with the pandemic, especially for this fall and probably the early spring, it's just going to be the case. And between 2012 and 2015, students studying solely on campus dropped by nearly 1 million. And again, in the current environment, it's dropped even further than that. So 40% are over age 25, and 60% of those students are from 18 to 24. 42% of those 25 and over took at least one online class. And there's an estimated growth of 21.7% between 2016 and 2022 in age 25 that will be taking online courses, virtual courses. So it is a field that is growing, and as instructors and faculty, these are the students that you're going to be engaging with more and more. So virtual learning challenges. It affects grades. There are some grade reductions, as you can see, that when folks go online, they go from a B- to a C. And it's based on a traditional 4-point scale. I'm not a huge numbers guy, but I think some of these facts are really important to know. And if the online course is a prerequisite for another course, then there's also a drop in GPA as well. And retention. Another challenge is retention. Online students are 9% less likely to remain enrolled after taking an online course. So those were the challenges. And when you talk about opportunities, I was looking through some literature, and there were 3 statements that really kind of came to mind through them. And so I think that the opportunities are that if you have an engaging environment online, you really can increase the degree of attention, curiosity, interest, optimism, and passion that students have for the topic or the course. And then also, in a well-designed course, the time and energy that students devote to those educationally sound activities, really can increase. And it's really all about the policies and practices that the institutions use to induce students to take part in these activities. And a big part of that is creating an engaging environment for students online. Certainly is different than when they have to walk into a class and you're in class and they see you. When they're walking into a Canvas classroom, as it were, it's a lot more challenging to engage students, but it can be done, and it can be done really well, and it can be done without a huge lift to faculty as well. Student engagement and active learning. Active learning has been a buzzword for a number of years, and it really is seen as the prerequisite for effective and meaningful learning and really achieving a lot of the outcomes, better critical thinking skills, students' openness to diversity, and really encouraging growth and leadership and other skills that they get online. And as we know, you certainly can work online, you certainly can work virtually. And so the online virtual classroom really has become a platform where students really start gaining some of those workforce skills that they're going to need going into the future. So the community of inquiry framework. In 2000, Garrison, Anderson, and Archer presented their community of inquiry, which offered elements of an educational experience based on 3 distinct forms of presence: social presence, cognitive presence, and teaching presence. Now, this framework was first offered as a way to promote an educational community within computer-mediated conferences that were leaning heavily on text-based communication. But today, with the addition of technology-mediated communications, including text, video, audio, web conferencing, and just a variety of different channels, this framework really can provide us as educators a guide to creating a healthy online community that's really engaged in deep and meaningful learning. And one of their thoughts about a community inquiry that I really like is a short description, and it's: a community of inquiry is a group of people in collaborative engagement, communicating and reflecting with purpose, constructing a personal meaning, and confirming mutual understanding. And I think that really sums it up really nicely. Come on, slide. And this is the model. I apologize for some of the text that's a little bit faded. I hope you can see it, but this is the community of inquiry model that Garrison, Anderson, and Archer came up with. And it's really a group of individuals who collaboratively engage in really a purposeful critical discourse and reflection, really to construct like a personal meeting and to confirm mutual understanding. And the COI, the Community of Inquiry Theoretical Framework, represents a process of creating a sort of a deep and meaningful, collaborative, constructivist learning experience through the development of the 3 interdependent elements, as you see in this slide: the social, the cognitive, and the teaching presence. So when you talk about the cognitive presence, it's the extent to which learners are able to construct and confirm meaning through sustained reflection and discourse during the course. And you really talk about exchanging information, applying new ideas, connecting ideas, really about cognition. And the student is at the center of those 3 circles, as you can see, as denoted by educational experience. Teaching presence, that's the design, the facilitation, the direction of cognitive and social processes for the purpose of realizing this meaningful and educationally worthwhile experience and really affecting learning outcomes. And you can see that the teaching presence is where the faculty really sets the curriculum. You share your personal meaning, your personal philosophies, and you focus discussion, and you really are the facilitator for this environment. And then finally, the social presence, which I think is really important. And it's the ability of the participants to identify with the community, the course of study, to communicate purposefully in a trusting environment, as you can see, risk-free expression, and to develop interpersonal relationships by way of projecting their individual personality. So you're really trying to foster students to become a community, to engage with each other, with you, feel free to express themselves without any kind of judgment. And it's really about encouraging collaboration. And a lot of people also call the social presence as the affective presence, sort of the touchy-feely, caring piece of being online. And so this is the framework that really helps to engage students in an online course. So let's go, and my slide's working, talk about specific engagement strategies. So in this next part, I really want to talk about some specific engagement strategies using the community of inquiry framework. Because when I first learned it, I thought, this is great, this is interesting, but I'm a very concrete person, so I kind of need you to show me what you mean sometimes. So we'll talk about that. So cognitive process. The cognitive process is the extent to which learners are able to construct and confirm meaning through sustained reflection and discourse. And as you can see, you're really encouraging the learners to construct and confirm meaning through reflection and discourse. I believe in reflection a lot. I think it's really great for students. I think it's great for faculty to reflect on whether you think you did well and where you could improve. And as a doctoral student, I went to a Jesuit school, and we had a reflection piece in every single one of my courses where we had to reflect on the topic at hand. And it really is helpful. And I use reflection a lot in my day-to-day. So some of the strategies for cognitive presence is you set the tone for the learning. You can ask a variety of questions to encourage discourse, reflection. You really want to encourage the students to explore, to communicate. You can ask students to provide examples of concepts that are at work in their own lives. So if you're teaching, I don't know, chemistry, for example, and I'm not a scientist, and I've never taught chemistry, I'm more of an arts guy, but you can really kind of connect the learning to something that might be going on in their life or how something works. And it really is helpful to create relevance for students in separate studies apart from COI. It's been found that students really engage more with faculty who can show them how that coursework that they're taking is relevant to them, to their interests, to their lives. So I think that's really important. You want to encourage opinions and not just memorization. And when you talk about assessments online, you're really trying to assess knowledge and not rote memorization. And then, you really get the students talking about practical applications, and you can use discussions online. And there's a number of strategies from web quests to presentations to regular Canvas discussions that you can do that. So those are some of the strategies that you can really use to build the cognitive presence in your course. And if you plan ahead, it can really be effective in doing that. Teaching presence. So this is the framework, the structure of your course. And it really is about the design, the facilitation, the direction of both the cognitive and social processes in your course for the purpose of really creating a worthwhile educational experience and getting the learning outcomes that you want. So again, design, facilitation, direction of cognitive and social processes for the achievement of both personal and educational value. Again, you really want to try to connect the content that you have to your students personally. And part of that is also letting them know why you are really interested. I took a geology course once, and the instructor really told me why they were involved in geology, what excited them about geology, and it just made it a little more interesting for me. And all those connections really do help to build community, to engage students, and to show people that you're a real person with thoughts and feelings, and that really helps to build this community as well. So when you talk about teaching presence and strategies for teaching presence, we can get into it's really important to have weekly announcements. I always say that in your online course, you really have to create a map for students to follow. I'm a big proponent of a Start Here module or a Start Here document so that you introduce yourself to your students, you let them know what the course is about, what the expectations are, and how the objectives and goals of the course really map to each other. So weekly announcements, and the announcements don't have to all be course related. It's just something to keep the communication going, to talk to your students. And it really shows that you are present in the course. And that is the second point, which is really, really important. You want to be present in the course often and throughout the week. And that doesn't mean that you have to be in there for hours and have to respond to student, emails, 24/7, but you really want to make sure that the students know that you're in the course, that you're in the course often, whether you send a note, respond to a discussion question, or just send individual notes to them. You want to provide tips and recommendations. You can usually see where students are having issues. I know that when I've created some online course materials and I was teaching online, there were things I thought were crystal clear, and it became apparent really quickly that if my directions were bad, I would get 10 million questions. So you really want to, again, reflect and think about what you're asking your students to do, provide tips, provide recommendations, help them make the journey through your course from week to week, module to module, so that it really is guiding them through. And that, again, is another source of connection. You want to share resources to support learning. Not everyone learns in the same way. And while learning styles has been debunked for some time, we do all learn in different ways. So I think that the more resources that you have to support learning, the better for your students. And we're really all here to, for student success. And so it's all about getting the student through your course, succeeding, passing, and moving on, and then retaining that student as well. And providing in-depth feedback, both constructive and positive, is really good. It's not to say that, it has to all be positive. Constructive criticism is really important, and where they're falling short, it's important to let them know. But providing in-depth feedback so that they know what's going on is really important. And then if there's issues, life gets in the way, and in this pandemic situation, who knows what could happen, just letting the students know when your responses might be delayed is really important and really helpful. Again, it just goes back to just some basic parameters of communication and feedback, and really trying to stay engaged with your students. Social presence. And so this piece, like I said, some people call the affective, and it really encourages learners to project themselves socially and emotionally as real people within the course and communication mediums. And it's really the ability of the participants, even including the faculty, to identify with the community, the course of study. It's giving them a environment in which they can really communicate purposefully, trusting, caring, sharing environment. And it really helps to develop interpersonal relationships by way of projecting their individual personalities. And I think that one of the pluses of the online virtual environment is that you do have students that may not speak up or raise their hand or talk in a classroom setting, but that and are rather introverted. But online, if they don't have to share their camera, behind Canvas, they can tend to be a little more forthcoming and communicative and engaging. And so what I really like about the virtual environment for me personally is that I'm able to really hear all of my students' voices and connect with them and get feedback from them. And so I think it's a really great environment to do that, and building social presence. I mean, it takes work on the faculty side, but it's really no different than being in a classroom. You're doing the same thing, except you're just doing it virtually. Sorry about that. My phone was ringing. So talking about social presence, affective presence, and what we can do to have some strategies for that. You offer encouragement, use student names. And it's interesting, I've known some faculty who had some challenging students, and the students really didn't want to share, really didn't want to participate. And he offered them the ability to create avatars online and make up nicknames for themselves. And of course, he knew who all they were. And what was interesting was in this experiment, he did half the class virtually, half the class face to face. And in the virtual half, he did it in a VR, virtual reality environment. And students created these avatars and they created names. And it was fascinating to see what students came up with. So there were a number of students who changed their gender, and not because of any personal issue, they just changed their gender. There were students who changed their race, and there were even students who used anime characters and animals. And so it was a fascinating study, but what it really showed was that if you get people into a comfort zone where they feel supported and where they feel encouraged, they really will start to interact and open up. And so again, you want to offer encouragement. You want to use student names. You really want to consider their feelings. And this is the area usually where I talk about netiquette. And I think it's really important in the online arena. Most institutions have policies. I know a lot of faculty have policies in their class, but you really should have a piece that talks about netiquette and how you can address people online and things you can say and things you can't say. And you want to encourage people to participate, but you really want to cut down any negativity. And so netiquette is really important. You want to watch for some feeling phrases and just keep your eye on how the students are doing and how it's going. Offering one-on-one appointments. I know a lot of faculty do that already. Again, they also do, check-ins individually. And being a person is really great. I know that there was a faculty at my last institution who was trying to be very uber professional and create these professional videos. And one day she was just having a bad day and she happened to be in London. And so she was doing her synchronous piece from her apartment in London, and her cat got into the frame, and suddenly things changed. The students saw her as a person, they saw her having a bad day, they saw her really not being this sort of robotic cutout of an instructor. And from that point on, she really became much more personable and really interacted. And she realized that, as the faculty member, the students are looking to you to set the direction and the tone and the feeling. And so if you start from the very beginning, again, with an intro video and just set the tone for your course, really talk about your community, how it relates to them, why you're interested, the journey that you're going to take them on. Those are all things that really help to build engagement in your course. And it really is a piece of creating an online presence and all that kind of stuff. But it really is important. And I think that this framework is fantastic for doing that sort of thing. Again, I'm back to the diagram for the community of inquiry. And really, this is a big part of building engagement in your course. You really want to think about, when you go into your course, all the pieces that this shows. So you are trying to create this environment for the student. You're trying to create a great educational experience. And you want to really use the tools that you have in Canvas. Use your discussion tool, use your multimedia tools to record video and to encourage students to either record audio or video in the discussion, so that it's not simply a text-based course where you're typing and just keeping everything flat. You want to do a lot of things to engage people. Active learning, you can create groups, you can create a lot of collaboration, and really get into some oh, sorry, hang on. Sorry about that. I had a little tech issue. Again, so you can really get into some really great active learning group work. The school is in the process of getting Zoom, and while we don't have it yet, it will be a part of the tools that you have along with Canvas. And so it will really help with building this social presence, and you can do breakout rooms and you can have students present. And so there's going to be a lot more opportunity to have interaction with your students online, along with other activities and things that you can do in your course. And when you think about teaching online and being online, I think it's important to really think that it's not just an online course. You're in 2021. I think it's also going to be changing quite a bit because there's already talk about the federal guidelines changing for online courses where you really have to provide a lot more active learning. You have to do a lot more engagement with students. So it's not a correspondence course. It's not just something that they log into and download and upload homework. It's becoming a virtual environment, just like your face-to-face classroom. And it's not just an online course. It is, and this is where my geekiness is going to come out. So excuse me. It is about engagement, and I'm a big Trekkie fan. So, and the point of it really is that to really create engagement with your students, you have to be willing to jump in and to engage with them, to interact with them, and to create an environment where they feel safe, where they can share, they can explore, they can discuss, and really have a robust environment in which to learn. And again, some of the points that we had talked about was you really want them to start critically thinking and working on owning the knowledge that you're giving them, that you're presenting them, and you want them to succeed and just really, do well in your course. So that's the end of my presentation, and I know we have quite a bit of time, but in past sessions where I've done this, it's been nice to really talk to the attendees. I'm going to unmute all of you in just a second, and we can take some questions and maybe even have some discussion in what you do already to engage your students or create an environment for them. And all of you may be doing all of this already. You may know about the COI framework. So let me move it over to discussions, questions, and answers. And also, I have with me today Jenny and Rose from eLearning, and so they'll be available too if you have any questions or comments. I'm going to unmute everybody. If you could just raise your hand, though, it might be easier to talk. And I do see that Linda has a question, so I'm going to unmute everybody. How can Zoom be used if the course is asynchronous? So that's a really good question. So the college's stance is that everything on your course has to be available asynchronously, and that's not really just a CCC mandate. It's really across the board. I came from Temple, and while there were synchronous sessions, attendance was not mandatory, and everything that was presented in the synchronous session had to also be available asynchronously. It's also important because for those students who might need accommodations, or those students who have some visual issues or some hearing issues, the asynchronous portion lets them re-engage with the material outside of the synchronous piece, and they can really get the information that they need and take the time that they need to really learn it. So if the course is asynchronous, you can still have synchronous portions. So for example, if you want to explain a concept that you think students might not be able to get from the materials that you post, and might be better coming from you directly in a presentation, you can get on video, talk to them, take some questions and answers. You can do a presentation, share your PowerPoint. I know my PowerPoints are useless without me kind of guiding students along with it, because I do a lot of visuals and not a lot of textual information. So you can use Zoom in a number of ways. when we get Zoom at CCC, Ginny, Rose, and I will be doing webinars and training on Zoom. You can get one-on-one sessions to use Zoom, and we'll give you some ideas and tips and strategies on how you can use Zoom in with your course. And of course, all Zoom portions can be recorded. And the nice thing about Zoom is after they're recorded and processed, they will also have a transcript for those, who might need a screen reader or something like that. So there are a number of things that you can use. Zoom is not just a synchronous delivery system. There's a lot of tools and benefits to Zoom which augments, asynchronous courses. Did that answer your question? Or I think you can unmute yourself. Hang on. I unmuted everybody, so I think you have to unmute yourself. Hello, hello. I see Ginny's unmuted.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was working. Do you have anything to add for Linda, or? And
No,
I see
I was
Rose is unmuted.
Yeah, she may, if Linda, you might need to find the little microphone button up at the top of your toolbar and click on it if you're wanting to.
Okay, Linda, try that now. Anyway, well, I think you're unmuted. It says right now you're self-muted. So if you find the microphone and click on it so that it turns green from orange, you'll be able to talk to us. If you're still there. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Oh, okay, I see. Says I answered her question. She's not able to unmute right now. And no, absolutely. So Zoom and most web conferencing tools like this session is going to be recorded and available in the Faculty Hub. You can record sessions and make them available to your students for watching or download. And the nice thing again is that once you record a Zoom session and it processes, it will give you a voice to text transcript, which isn't 100%, but it's better than nothing. So any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, well, I will take that as a no. So we're at 1:38 and we have quite a bit of time, but if there are no questions and no comments, you can get a copy of the PowerPoint if you want. I can send it to you, or you can, I believe, can they download the recorded session, Ginny or Rose?
Yeah, well,
it...
yeah, we'll probably put it, upload it to YouTube, and so they can get it from YouTube.
Awesome. Sounds good. All right, well, if there are no questions or comments, I think we are done for today. And Linda, if you have any questions that you have for us or that you want us to expound on, just feel free to email any one of us, or you can always reach me. My cell number is in my signature block, so you can feel free to text me or call me, and we can have whatever discussion you want, and we can help you that way. All right. Well, thank you everybody for attending. I hope this was helpful. And so from now until December 10th, we will be doing 3 webinars a week, and they're all different, unique webinars. So you may want to take a look at the schedule. Rose, Ginny, and I are each doing a webinar every week from now until December 10th. So we hope to see you in those sessions. And again, if you have any questions or you need any one-on-one help, let us know. And relatively soon, we will be having a virtual faculty lab where you can just drop in with no appointment and ask us questions or get help with anything that you might need. So thank you again. Have a great afternoon, and we hope to see you soon.